Frank, does nobody care anymore? Does nobody care? A quick hobby thought today. Make sure to stick around. What's going on, sports card hobby family? We are back again, another day, another sports card collectibles video. We are here to have a good time, so make sure you get the energy up. Woo! If you're new here, you're looking for daily sports card collectible style content, you have come to the right place. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Also connect with me on IG at SportsCardDad. And a big thanks to today's video sponsor, DC Sports 87. Maybe you've been thinking, I need to sell some cards on eBay, but I don't want to deal with the packaging and the shipping and the listing and all the stuff, the possible refunds and the send back, all the stuff. DC Sports 87, you can just shoot it off to them. They will handle it all for you. And as auctions end and people pay, it's all updated in real time on their website. Really a simple process working with these guys. Make sure to check out DC Sports 87. All right, I've been listening to others talk about kind of hobby fatigue and it's just tough out here. First world problems, right? Good Lord. Anyway, I want to talk about just kind of my feelings, my thoughts, and echoing a little bit of what I've been talking about. But man, as we send out 2023, and for me, frankly, it's been a year. It's been a bit of a year. As I've mentioned on the channel before, we've had 3 deaths in our family between my wife and I over the last 6 months, and it's just been tough. I mean, I haven't been to a lot of funerals in my life, and now I'm like a pro at it. And I'm ready just to kind of move into 2024, head into the holiday season, regroup, and head into 2024. But as I look around and I listen, it's kind of I don't know what I'm doing here. Sometimes I just need a break and this and that. And of course, if you need a break from anything, take a break from it. I mean, that should really be obvious. But when we look at the current climate where it sits today, man, if you loved this stuff back in 2020, 2021, as we head into 2024, the prices for singles for cards, for trading cards, it has continued to move down over time. Unless you're buying PMG Michael Jordans, whatever, we'll throw that to the side. Most of the hobby is not. If you are not collecting GOAT players, if you're collecting the favorite players on your team, a lot of those cards have moved down in price. And one thing that I think that should be celebrated too as we round out this year is it's clearly obvious to me. I was watching some footage on the Toronto Expo that just wrapped up here over this past weekend. And it sounded to me like it was one of the more busy Toronto Expos ever. On Saturday, shoulder to shoulder in there, you couldn't move around. That was one of the kind of the complaints, which of course, if you're running the show, you're thinking like, well, that's good because your dealers are happy. It's not a great thing. Obviously, people can't move, but it does tell you, hey, there's demand, clearly. I just went to a national in July that was the largest national sports card convention ever. And that's coming off the back of 2.5 years of prices moving downward. And it's still that damn busy. And what does that tell me? It tells me that we have more participants now in a lower price environment than we did during the height. I think even with, flippers leaving or people getting in and out or whatever, it seems obvious to me that we have more participants today than we did at the height of prices going back to 2020 and 2021. There are still people that are just finding this. There are still people, believe it or not. I know when you've been in it for a little bit, you're like, how could you just be kind of getting back into cards or collectibles now? But it is happening all over the place. There's people, I'll see it on Facebook groups. I'll see it in my comment section. Hey, I just started 3 months ago. I just started 6 months ago. I mean, people are seeing, I think, that, hey, look, this is also a nice getaway from regular life. We've talked a lot, too, about the economy and money supply management by the government and what's that going to look like. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world today. And so what does that look like? Well, the other thing that we need to also remember is even though the cost of new product is still way too damn expensive. I've talked about that over the last week. They need to figure that out, that the price has got to come down on new product. But hey, good news, friends. If you don't want to buy the stupidly expensive new product, you can buy the singles. The singles are inexpensive in comparison to what the product is. It's just very inexpensive if you compare it. And when you look and see how much money people are getting out of new product when they open a box, and they see that they're excited that they got a huge hit that barely pays for the box. It's like, oh, I bought a $400 box and whoosh, based on recent sales, I got a $400 card here. And that's exciting. That's about as good as it gets in a lot of instances. Whereas most of what you see is you buy a $500 box and you get 50 bucks out of it. That's what you see. That's the reality. But good news, you don't have to do that. All of the singles, they break them, it comes out into it, sends off to eBay or wherever, Golden or PWCC or Hakes or, Heritage. It's going somewhere, Robert Edward Auctions, for you. It's going there for you. It's just all about price point, finding the right price point for yourself. So, but even with kind of all the uncertainty, I think the one thing that we have to recognize as well is a lot of what brought people back into this hobby in 2020 and 2021 and during the pandemic, it's the same stuff today. We still have the same, not quite the same as far as the pandemic, different uncertainty. Now we've got a lot of economic uncertainty. People are losing their jobs. It's tough out there. And what does this hobby do? It does give you kind of an outlet for that, whether it's content online or whether it's going to a show. I went to my Raleigh card show this past week. Actually, it's funny. I walked in with my son, my youngest, and instead of it being the card show, there was some card dealers there, but it was mainly a toy and comics show this past week. So I guess I mixed that up. Either way, though, it was cool. I picked up this Alf. Am I pointing right? There we go. Frank, line this up. I picked up Alf and I got this Ninja Turtle shirt. So there you go. It was a winning weekend. Entry at my local show is $5 and my son gets in free. It's a couple hours. We get to walk around. We talk to people. We check out cool collectible type stuff. That's cheap entertainment. And I understand traveling to the Toronto Expo or going to the National is not cheap, but there's tons of local and regional shows to where you can do the same thing. It might cost you $10 to get in or something, but you can spend an afternoon out there with like-minded people talking about sports, talking about cards. There's a lot of good things that come out of card shows that are fun. You can see some of that action in person with breaking. I'm not a breaking person, but it is kind of interesting to watch when you're on site, like at the National, and they've got kind of their breaker pavilion set up, and you can watch it all happening. It's kind of fun to see kind of the background on that and the ins and outs of it. And then, of course, you've got a zillion tables of cards, and then you've got content panels, and you've got different things at these larger shows. But even at these smaller shows, a lot of it's just getting out, talking about sports, because a lot of the newer cards, if we're talking about Patrick Mahomes or Burrow, or you're talking about Wemby, you might be talking about the last week's games. It's kind of like the old guys at the coffee shop, talking about, this last week of baseball games or football games or whatever and catching up. It's kind of similar to what a card show is. And we've seen an absolute explosion of this. Yeah, we'll see some slowdown on card shows from now to the end of the year, but that's pretty normal. That's just, look, it's holiday season. People are not going to go out of their way to travel the world to go to a card show at the end of November and December. Not many people anyway. Card show attendance at all-time highs, grading at all-time highs, or they've never graded, these companies have never graded more cards ever than they have now. Volume of sales, while it might not be the levels that we saw on eBay of 2020 and 2021, it's not completely gone either. There's still quite a bit of cards that sell on eBay every single day. We see it. If you're trolling around eBay, whether you're watching cards, these cards are selling. Now, maybe they're not selling for, the prices some people have listed, the big buy it nows, but cards are selling without much of an issue. The one thing I'm interested to see is, if I compare it to the last boom, it was really 1987 to 1994. So you had a 6-7 year stretch of really hot, a hot card market. I don't know when you would kind of start this stretch, because it really started in 2016, 2018 really starting to move up more, and then of course 2020 is when things really ballooned and got wild. But a lot of that had to do with not just demand, but also stimulus money and some other factors. So it's going to be kind of curious to see if this is our norm, if this is our normal, if we've got a decade plus of this type of interest, because that's the main thing. A lot of people talk about price points, how much money is being spent, which is true, of course. That's something that should be taken into account, but it's also how many participants, how many people are out there just buying, $10 worth of cards, every week, as opposed to the one that's paying 6 figures for a card, because that's still a hobby participant, the one that buys $10 worth of cards every week. This is going to be the new normal, is this staying power where, hey, look, we've got this whole generation that's going to be, full throttle and involved in the hobby in one way or another. Like I said, from a money standpoint, it might not be as much as others, but still involved, still paying attention to it, still getting involved when they can. So that's going to be fun to watch. Guys, let's not forget these are first world problems, and that for many, this is just an escape from real life. This hobby, going to a card show, looking at cards online, other collectibles and that sort of thing. It's just a fun kind of mental break from our usual day. All right, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.